So here's Carole on why she thinks the world still needs to hear her warmed over boilerplate, non-insightful takes on John and Carolyn.
Because I think so much of the time she gets cast as just this like fashion girl. And she really, I know it's going to sound crazy, but she really wasn't. She wasn't caught up in fashion. In fact, if you look at a lot of the photos, she's just wearing jeans and a good shoe and a button down. And she was very simple. And it was the minimalist 90s, but also she didn't give that much thought to it. At night, she would pretty much wear one designer, Yohji Yamamoto. She was so much more than fashion. Mm-hmm. So if I can speak to that, I'm going to take that opportunity. And John, of course, was so much more than, the tabloid, trashy version of, who he dated and being the hunk and what he did at George Magazine, I think was truly revolutionary. I think it was so ahead of its time. Mm-hmm. I remember at the time when he was explaining it to Anthony and I.
Oh my God. Okay, let's go to town on this. When he was explaining it to Anthony and I, it's Anthony and me, okay? She likes to call herself a writer, a New York Times bestselling author. When he was explaining it to Anthony, here's a pro tip, Carole. If you're not sure which pronoun to use, remove the name of the other person and say, would you say when John was explaining it to I, or when John was explaining it to me? Secondly, Carolyn was not really a fashion person. She was one of Calvin Klein's top right-hand people. She was the very definition of a fashion person, and she cared a lot about how she looked. And when she met John and she was intent on landing this big fish, she began remaking herself to look not like the downtown hipster who hung out at Save the Robots that she was, but she wanted to reinvent herself to be a future first lady. So she she started losing weight at a rapid cocaine helped rate. She began bleaching her hair super, super white. She became super minimalist. She tried everything. Thirdly, they need Carole. So Carole comes in and she says, the world just thinks that Carolyn wasn't anything more than like a fashion girl who was kind of superficial. And that John was just like this tabloid hunk who hadn't really accomplished. All true. She says, so what did they accomplish, Carole? Just tell us. But she can't, because it was nothing.